Have you ever finished a good deed and then felt a strange discomfort afterward? You helped someone. You gave charity. You shared something beneficial. You stood in prayer while everyone else was asleep. And then, somewhere quietly inside you, there was a thought you did not want to admit. I hope someone noticed. Maybe nobody heard it. Maybe nobody saw it. Maybe even you tried to push it away immediately. No, I only did this for Allah. But then another part of you whispers, then why did you feel disappointed when nobody appreciated it? This is where many sincere people become confused. You sit after prayer and still feel the same insecurity. You recite Allah's name and still feel the same jealousy. You finish your dhikr and the anxiety returns within minutes. And you begin asking, what is wrong with my heart? Why do I know what is right but still struggle inside? But Ibn Arabi gives us a perspective that changes the entire way we look at this struggle. He teaches that this discomfort is not always a sign of failure. Sometimes it is the heart revealing what was hidden. Because the greatest danger is not only obvious sin. The greatest danger is when the heart quietly attaches itself to something besides Allah, while the person believes they are moving closer to Him. Not idols made of stone. Idols made of identity. The image of being respected. The image of being righteous. The image of being someone close to Allah. In this video, you will understand exactly why this happens, what these hidden diseases of the heart are revealing, and how to begin returning the heart back to sincerity before Allah. The spiritual struggle of our time is not always that people do not know Islam. Many people know. They listen to lectures, they read books, they attend reminders, they understand what they should do. But something deeper is happening. We live in an age where the self is constantly displayed. Every day, you are surrounded by invisible questions. How many people approved of you? How impressive are you? How successful do you look? How much do people respect your opinions? Even religion can become part of this battlefield. A person may avoid showing off with wealth, but secretly desire recognition for their spirituality. They may reject arrogance, but become attached to the identity of being humble. They may fear hypocrisy so much that they become obsessed with monitoring their own sincerity. This is why the scholars of the heart spent so much time studying inner diseases. Because the heart does not usually collapse in one dramatic moment. A building does not fall because of one small crack. The crack appears quietly, then another, until one day, the structure that looked strong from the outside was already weakened inside. One of the greatest thinkers to explore this hidden world was Ibn Arabi. Born in 1165 in Andalusia, Ibn Arabi was not simply a poet writing emotional reflections about spirituality. He was a serious metaphysician who spent his life examining existence, consciousness, the human soul, and the relationship between creation and the Creator. In works like Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah and Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi repeatedly returns to one question: not only, what are you doing, but what is your heart facing while you do it? Because two people can perform the same action. One person rises through it, another person becomes more attached to himself through it. The outside looks identical. The inside is completely different. Modern psychology calls one part of this human tendency self-enhancement, the way people naturally protect and improve the image they have of themselves. But Ibn Arabi goes deeper. Psychology can describe the movement of the mind. Ibn Arabi diagnoses the movement of the soul, and that is what makes this discussion different. We are not simply listing sins. We are looking at the private moments where the heart reveals itself. A compliment, a disagreement, someone else's success, A moment when nobody is watching. Because sometimes the greatest spiritual discoveries happen in the places where nobody else can see. Think of Ahmed. He is 27 years old. He works as an engineer in Toronto. For most of his life, Islam was important to him, but over the last 2 years something changed. He became more serious. He started waking up for Fajr consistently. He began attending weekend classes. He stopped spending hours on things that left his heart empty. His friends noticed. They would say, "Masha Allah, Ahmed, you have really changed." And honestly, Ahmed was grateful. He did not want praise. At least, that is what he believed. One evening, he attends a gathering where someone asks him to share a reminder. He speaks about patience. He speaks about trusting Allah during difficulty. Afterward, an older brother approaches him. He says, "MashaAllah, Allah has given you wisdom. Keep going." Ahmed smiles. He lowers his head. He says the correct words, "Alhamdulillah. All praise belongs to Allah." And the words are true. But later that night, something happens. He is lying in bed, the room is quiet, and he remembers the compliment. Then he imagines how people see him now. Then he wonders whether people respect him. Then, the next day, when nobody mentions his efforts, he feels a small emptiness. Not because he wanted fame, not because he wanted applause. Something more subtle happened. He became attached to the image of himself as someone who is close to Allah. And this is one of the most dangerous movements of the heart. Because the ego does not always appear as arrogance. Sometimes the ego appears as spirituality. This is exactly the kind of inner transformation Ibn Arabi warns about. In Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah, Ibn Arabi discusses how the seeker can become veiled by created things, and one of the most subtle created things is the image a person has of himself. Think about that. The person leaves attachment to wealth. He leaves attachment to status. He leaves attachment to worldly approval. But then, he creates a new attachment. I am someone who has left those things. The object changed, the attachment remained. This is why Ibn Arabi's approach is so powerful. He does not only ask, "What are you attached to?" He asks, "What part of yourself are you protecting?" Because sometimes the thing standing between you and Allah is not a desire for the world. It is your desire to preserve a certain version of yourself. Imagine a person standing in front of a mirror at night. Behind them is the moon. The mirror reflects the moon beautifully. The person looks at the reflection and says, "How beautiful the light is." But slowly, something changes. They stop looking at the moon. They begin polishing the mirror. They decorate the frame. They start showing people the mirror. And they forget the mirror was never the source of the light. The heart is the mirror. Allah is the source of every light that appears within you. Your patience, your kindness, your desire to worship, your ability to repent. None of these began with you. They arrived as gifts. But the nafs quietly whispers, "Look what you have become." And the heart forgets, "Look at who allowed you to become anything at all." Modern psychology describes part of this through self-enhancement bias. Human beings naturally create stories where they appear consistent, valuable, and admirable. Even our religious identity can become part of that story. The shift is incredibly small. At first, the heart says, "I worship Allah." Then slowly, "I am someone who worships Allah." The first statement faces Allah. The second statement begins facing the self. And this is where sincerity becomes a battlefield. Ask yourself honestly, have you ever been more upset when people misunderstood your intentions than when you fell short before Allah? Have you ever felt more pain from losing respect than from losing presence with Allah? These questions are uncomfortable, but discomfort can be a mercy. because you cannot heal what you refuse to see. Science describes the mechanism. Ibn Arabi tells you what to do about it. Turn the gaze back. When you notice goodness within yourself, do not stare at the reflection. Look toward the source. Before an action, ask, am I doing this because Allah sees me? During the action, am I present with Allah, or am I imagining how others see me? After the action, am I grateful that Allah allowed this, or impressed that I did it? But here is what most people miss. The danger is not that you enjoy being appreciated. Human beings naturally appreciate encouragement. The danger begins when appreciation becomes proof that your worship has value. Because then, people's eyes become a second judge alongside Allah. And slowly, the heart starts performing before creation, while believing it is standing before the Creator. The ego's final disguise is loving your own obedience. But if the ego can hide inside worship itself, then what happens when it sees another person receiving the blessings you wanted? That is where the next disease begins. Because the heart that becomes attached to its own image eventually struggles when someone else receives the light it wanted for itself. Think of Maryam. She is 31 years old. She teaches Qur'an online 3 evenings a week. She does not do it for attention. She genuinely loves helping people reconnect with Allah. Before every lesson, she makes dua that Allah places benefit in her words. One night, after finishing her class, she opens her phone. She sees another Qur'an teacher. Someone younger than her. This person has thousands of followers. She has been invited to speak at events. People are sharing her reminders everywhere. Maryam looks at the comments. Your words changed my life. May Allah increase you. You are such an inspiration. And immediately, Maryam says, Masha Allah. May Allah bless her. And she means it. She even writes the comment herself. But then she puts the phone down. And something remains. A heaviness, a question she does not want to admit. Why did Allah give her that platform and not me? And this is where the heart becomes complicated. Because Maryam does not hate this woman. She does not want her success removed. She does not wish harm upon her. But somewhere inside, another thought appears. If Allah wanted to elevate someone in this field, why was it not me? This is a deeper form of envy. Not always wanting someone else's blessing to disappear. Sometimes it is struggling to accept Allah's choice of where His gifts appear. And this is exactly where Ibn Arabi takes us deeper. Most people understand envy as a problem between two human beings. You see someone with something you want. You feel jealousy. You struggle with them. But Ibn Arabi shows that the deeper issue is not actually about the other person. It is about your relationship with Allah's wisdom. In Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi explores how every created being receives a unique manifestation of divine generosity. Every person carries a different reflection. Every person receives a different opening. Every person has a different path through which Allah's names become visible. The mistake begins when the servant says, I know what my portion should look like. I know what kind of gift would prove that Allah favors me. I know where the light should fall. But the servant only sees one corner of the garden. Allah sees the entire landscape. Imagine a garden at sunrise. One flower receives sunlight first. Another flower receives sunlight later in the afternoon. A small flower looks toward a taller flower and says, why does that flower receive more light than me? But the flower has forgotten something. The sun is not divided. The light given to one flower does not reduce the light available for another. The mistake is not wanting goodness. The mistake is believing divine generosity works like human competition. Human beings often think, if someone else rises, I must be falling. But Allah's treasures do not become smaller because another person receives from them. Your provision was never threatened by someone else's blessing. Your path was never delayed because someone else walked theirs. This is where modern psychology gives us a useful lens. Psychologists call this social comparison theory. Humans naturally measure themselves by looking at others. Comparison itself is not always harmful. It can inspire learning. But when the heart constantly measures itself against others, perception changes. Instead of asking, "What has Allah given me?" the mind begins asking, "Why did Allah give them what I wanted?" And that question quietly changes the heart. Gratitude becomes resentment. Trust becomes suspicion. The heart begins looking at Allah's distribution through the lens of personal preference. And this is where it gets uncomfortable. Because sometimes we think our problem is that we are jealous of another person. But the deeper problem is that we have created an expectation of how Allah should arrange the world. The heart secretly says, "If I deserved goodness, Allah would have chosen me." But hidden inside that sentence is an assumption. I understand the entire wisdom behind Allah's decisions. And that is where the disease grows. Because envy is not only wanting another person's gift. At its deepest level, envy is struggling with the reality that Allah is the giver. The same heart that struggled with self-admiration in the first disease now faces another test. Before, the ego said, "Look at me." Now it says, "Look at what I should have received." The ego moves from seeking attention to seeking control. It does not only want to be seen. It wants to decide how blessings should be distributed. Ask yourself honestly, who is the person whose success creates discomfort inside you? Not anger, not hatred, just a small heaviness, a small question. Why them? That moment is not there to make you ashamed. It is there to show you something about your heart. Because the heart reveals itself through what it struggles to accept. The cure is not pretending you never notice other people. The cure is learning to see Allah's generosity everywhere. When someone receives a blessing, train your heart to say, "This is Allah showing His generosity through another servant." Their success is not evidence that you were forgotten. Their opening is not proof that your door is closed. Allah is not a limited source. The ocean does not become smaller because one person drinks from it. And the mercy of Allah does not become less because someone else receives it first. But that is only half of what Ibn Arabi is saying. Because envy is still connected to comparison. And comparison itself comes from something even deeper, the belief that what appears within us actually belongs to us. The heart first says, "Why did they receive what I wanted?" Then, in a more hidden form, it says, "Why do I deserve what I have?" And this brings us to a disease even more dangerous. The disease of pride. Not the obvious pride of looking down on others. The hidden pride of forgetting where your own goodness came from. The ego's final disguise is loving your own obedience. But when the heart stops admiring itself, another test appears. Can it sincerely celebrate when Allah gives someone else what it secretly wanted? That is the disease of comparison. Think of Bilal. He is 42 years old. For the last 15 years, he has dedicated his life to studying Islam. He memorized Qur'an when he was younger. He studied with teachers. He spends his evenings reading classical works. People in his community respect him. When someone has a question about faith, they come to him. And Bilal is genuinely grateful. He does not wake up thinking, "I am better than everyone." That would be obvious. That would be easy to recognize. The more dangerous moment comes on an ordinary Friday afternoon. After the prayer, a younger man approaches him. He is respectful. He does not speak with arrogance. He simply says, Ustad Bilal, I was reading about this topic, and I came across another perspective. Could there be another way to understand it? The young man is not attacking him. He is not disrespecting him. He is asking. But something moves inside Bilal. A small reaction, a discomfort, a feeling he does not want to admit. How can someone with so little experience challenge me? The sentence appears quickly, almost automatically. And later that night, Bilal sits alone. He thinks about the conversation. And something painful becomes clear. He was not defending the truth. He was defending his position as someone who knows the truth. And this is where pride becomes dangerous. Because many people understand pride only at its most obvious level. They imagine someone arrogant, someone who insults others, someone who openly thinks they are superior. But Ibn Arabi takes us into a much deeper place. He shows us that pride is not only about looking down on creation, it is about misunderstanding your relationship with the Creator. In Fusus al-Hikam, Ibn Arabi discusses the reality of human perfection. The qualities we admire in ourselves, knowledge, patience, intelligence, generosity, wisdom are not independent possessions. They are gifts that appear through us. The problem is not recognizing a blessing. The problem is forgetting the one who gave it. There is a difference between saying, Allah has given me knowledge, and saying, I possess knowledge. The first statement creates gratitude, the second creates ownership, and ownership is where the heart begins to drift. Imagine someone wearing a beautiful royal garment. The garment is extraordinary. People look at it and say, what an incredible robe. The person wearing it hears the praise. Slowly, something changes. They begin thinking, they are admiring me. But the beauty was never created by the person wearing it. The robe was given. The elegance was borrowed. The person is carrying a gift. They are not the source of the gift. This is the human condition. You are walking through life wearing things Allah placed upon you. Your intelligence, your personality, your ability to understand, your emotional strength, your discipline, even your desire to worship Him. All of these are garments of mercy. The mistake of pride is not appreciating the garment. The mistake is forgetting who dressed you. This is why some of the most spiritually dangerous forms of pride appear among people who are doing good. A person can become proud of their humility. They can become proud that they are not arrogant. They can secretly admire their own awareness. They can look at others and think, at least I understand what they do not understand. The ego does not disappear when it enters religion. Sometimes it becomes more sophisticated. It changes its clothing. It learns religious language. It learns how to speak about sincerity. It learns how to criticize arrogance. But underneath, the same desire remains: protect my image. Modern psychology describes part of this through the concept of illusory superiority, the human tendency to overestimate our own qualities compared to others. And what is interesting is that people are especially vulnerable when judging qualities that are difficult to measure. Morality, fairness, sincerity, wisdom. People rarely think, I am probably less patient than everyone. The mind naturally protects the identity it wants to preserve. But Ibn Arabi goes further. He is not simply telling you, be humble. That advice is too shallow. He is asking, do you recognize that nothing within you exists independently from Allah? Because true humility is not thinking badly about yourself. True humility is seeing yourself correctly. You are not worthless. You are not meaningless. Allah created you with dignity. But you are also not self-created. Every breath is received. Every ability is received. Every moment of guidance is received, and this changes the way you see your own goodness. Your patience becomes, Allah gave me the strength to be patient. Your knowledge becomes, Allah opened this door for me. Your kindness becomes, Allah allowed this mercy to pass through me. The heart moves from ownership to gratitude. But here is where this disease becomes even more dangerous. The greatest form of pride is not when you look down on people openly. It is when you look down on people while believing you are doing it for Allah. Because then, the ego hides behind something sacred. A person does not say, I dislike them because I am better. They say, I dislike them because they are not following the truth like I am. The language changes. The disease remains. Ask yourself, have you ever found it easier to forgive someone who hurt you than someone who challenged your opinion? Have you ever felt more disturbed by being corrected than by being spiritually distant from Allah? Have you ever protected your reputation for sincerity more fiercely than you protected your sincerity itself? These questions expose the hidden places. Because the proud heart is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply unable to receive, unable to learn, unable to be corrected, unable to say, maybe Allah is teaching me through this person. Most people stop at the surface of pride. They think pride means standing above others. Ibn Arabi takes us deeper. Pride begins when the servant forgets that everything beautiful in him came from somewhere beyond him. The heart becomes free when it stops claiming ownership over what was always a gift. But now we reach an even more subtle disease. What happens when the person does not just admire their goodness, but admires their own journey toward goodness? This is where even spiritual growth can become a veil. Here is the paradox that changes the entire way you look at purification. Sometimes the thing you use to fight the ego becomes food for the ego. Think about that. A person leaves worldly distractions. They become disciplined. They become careful with their time. They avoid things that damage their heart. This is good. But then something subtle happens. They become attached to being the kind of person who avoids distractions. The ego has not disappeared, it has simply changed its clothing. A person can abandon arrogance and become proud of their humility. A person can seek sincerity and become obsessed with proving to themselves that they are sincere. A person can run away from seeking people's approval and become attached to the image of being someone who does not need approval. The form changed. The attachment remained. And this is why Ibn Arabi's approach is so challenging. He does not only ask, what bad qualities must I remove? He asks a deeper question, what in me is claiming independence from Allah? Because the deepest disease of the heart is not simply anger. It is not envy. It is not pride by itself. Those are symptoms. The root problem is the illusion that the self exists separately. The ego creates a story. I am the owner. I am the source. I achieved this. I built myself. But Ibn Arabi's entire spiritual framework challenges this illusion. In Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah, Ibn Arabi repeatedly returns to the reality of divine dependence. The servant does not become great by becoming independent. The servant becomes free by discovering that independence was never real. Your faith is a gift. Your repentance is a gift. Your ability to recognize your own weaknesses is a gift. Even the desire to come closer to Allah is something Allah placed within you. Think about that carefully. Before you searched for Allah, Allah was already opening the door for you to search. Before you wanted guidance, guidance was already reaching you. The heart begins healing when it stops saying, look what I have built, and begins saying, look what Allah has allowed. Many people think spiritual growth means creating a stronger self, a better version of yourself. a more disciplined version, a more impressive version. But Ibn Arabi would challenge the foundation of that thinking. True transformation is not making the ego more beautiful. It is seeing through the illusion that the ego was ever the source. The mirror becomes clear when it stops claiming the light belongs to it. You are not the light. You are the place where the light appears. And when the heart understands this, something changes. You stop worshipping your own progress. You stop comparing your path with others. You stop defending your image. Because everything returns to the one who gave it. The heart is purified when it stops claiming ownership over what was always a gift. So if healing begins with changing the way the heart sees itself, what can you actually do tonight to begin this transformation? Let's turn these ideas into practices. Understanding a disease is not the same as healing from it. You can recognize pride. You can recognize envy. You can recognize attachment to your image. But the heart changes when awareness becomes practice. So here are 3 exercises you can begin tonight. Not someday. Tonight, the first practice is the hidden intention audit. This connects directly to the first disease, when worship becomes attached to the worshipper. Before you sleep, choose one good action you performed during the day. Maybe you helped someone. Maybe you prayed. Maybe you gave advice. Maybe you showed patience. Then ask yourself 2 questions. First, what part of this action did I want Allah to see? Then, what part of this action did I want people to see? Do not answer with shame. Do not attack yourself. Simply observe. The goal is not to discover that you are terrible. The goal is to discover movements of the heart that were previously invisible. This is a form of metacognitive awareness, noticing your own thoughts, instead of automatically becoming controlled by them. You are creating distance between yourself and the whisper of the ego. The second practice is the blessing reversal exercise. This connects to the disease of comparison. Think of one person whose success creates discomfort inside you. Someone whose blessing makes you quietly ask, "Why not me?" Now write this sentence: Allah gave them this because Allah is generous, not because Allah forgot me. Then make a specific dua for that person, not a general prayer, something connected to the exact thing you struggle with. If you envy their knowledge, ask Allah to increase their beneficial knowledge. If you envy their influence, ask Allah to make their influence a source of good. Why? Because envy survives through scarcity. The heart thinks, their blessing means less for me. This practice retrains the heart to see divine generosity instead of competition. The third practice is the ownership question. This connects to pride and spiritual self-deception. Whenever you notice something good within yourself, immediately ask, "Who gave me this?" You notice patience. Who gave me patience? You notice knowledge. Who opened that door? You notice discipline. Who gave me strength? This simple question breaks the illusion of ownership. Your goodness does not disappear when you attribute it to Allah. It becomes more beautiful, because gratitude replaces pride. The diseases of the heart are not healed only through information. They are healed when the heart learns a new way of seeing. The heart changes when gratitude replaces the illusion of ownership. And now return with me to the question we began with. What happens when you finish a good deed and secretly wish someone noticed? Return to the moment we began with. You finished a good deed, you helped someone, you prayed. You gave something from yourself, and then, quietly, a thought appeared, I hope someone noticed. At the beginning of this video, that moment may have looked like a small weakness, a flaw in sincerity, a reason to blame yourself. But now you see it differently. That moment was not only exposing a problem, it was revealing a doorway. Because the question was never simply, did someone see my action? The deeper question was, who was my heart trying to be seen by? This is the hidden battlefield of sincerity. The diseases of the heart are rarely dramatic. They do not always announce themselves. Sometimes they arrive as a compliment you replay at night. Sometimes as the discomfort you feel when someone else succeeds. Sometimes as the inability to accept correction. Sometimes as the pride of believing you have moved beyond pride. Ibn Arabi's wisdom forces us to look beneath the surface. The goal is not to hate yourself. The goal is to stop worshipping the image of yourself. Your knowledge, your worship, your repentance, your desire to return to Allah, all of it was a gift before it was ever an achievement. And the greatest freedom comes when the heart no longer needs to prove itself before creation, because it has already found its place before the Creator. So the question to carry with you is not, how do people see me? The question is, what does my heart turn toward when nobody is watching? Because the heart becomes sincere when it stops asking to be seen and starts learning how to see Allah. The heart becomes free when it stops performing before creation and starts surrendering before the Creator. Before you leave, I want you to sit with one question. Think of the last time you felt hurt because someone did not recognize your effort, your knowledge, or your goodness. Was your heart truly seeking Allah's pleasure in that moment, or was it seeking proof that you were someone worthy of being admired? Write your answer honestly. Not the answer you want people to see. The answer your heart knows.